Hi, friends. Jennifer here with Jen Open Hearts. And today I am excited to talk about something that has been gently tugging on my heart in many ways, and sometimes in loud ways and quiet ways. But it has to do with knowing who your teachers are, who your current teachers are, and really honing in on their teachings, right? Because I feel for myself, I'll speak for myself first, but I'm just noticing that it's very oversaturated and there's so many people that we could potentially learn from. And if we have YouTube, if we have Instagram, TikTok, if we have Substack, all the things, we could be potentially listening to thousands of different voices and different opinions and different roadmaps and blueprints for life and for various aspects of life. And not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I do believe it creates ruptures or fractures in our focus and in our attention. And so for myself, I describe myself as slightly neurodivergent in some ways, a little bit squiggly brained. And I have an open crown and ajna in human design. And so I feel like what's happening and what has been happening is I've been oversaturated with teachers, and some of them are just people I like to learn from about certain, again, facets of life. But I had this realization about a year ago. My husband and I were traveling in Key West, and I was just journaling, by the water near a camper and just really feeling at peace, being by the ocean, feeling the breeze, feeling the sun, being out of your norm. And I felt very, just in this sense of peace, which for me as a human design manifester is such a beautiful experience that feels very aligned. And I feel like it's the energy that all of us deserve to connect with. But we have to create space for it, right? We can't sense peace if we're constantly fracturing our energy and our attention into 1,000 different different, I guess the visual analogy I'm thinking of is like this concept of if you have like a plot of land, and in your plot of land, you dig thousands of small holes, right? You're like, okay, here's this one teacher, here's this other teacher, here's this person, here's that person. These are all the people I'm learning from. And you'll have a bunch of very shallow holes of information where perhaps if you got rid of maybe a third of them or 75% of them, and you allowed yourself to dig a little bit deeper into some of those holes, you would end up at like a wellspring of information, a wellspring of foundation, a wellspring of confidence around the subject that you're connecting with, because our attention is sacred, our energy is sacred. And so if we continue to walk the path of being overstimulated, we can become ungrounded in our nature. And so I feel when we get very clear about our teachers, like this moment I was mentioning, journaling in Key West, I was in peace, I was in quiet, I was in a safe space. And I was just thinking like, wow, I'm feeling, in my normal life, I feel scattered. And so I just started writing like, who are my teachers? Who are they? Who are the people that I actually want to listen to and that I trust in this moment? And I also want to do a little side note that these people will change. They will get upgraded. They will evolve. They might get booted out. They might get brought back in. It just all depends on who you are in that moment and what you're actually interested in. What are you trying to be or achieve or understand or connect with in this current moment? And so I feel like there's something really wonderful that happens when we can learn to focus our attention on the aspects of life that are literally fueling us to become who we want to be. Because I can sit here in my home and I can say, I want to, in 2026, one of my goals is to sew all my clothes. Like that's literally a goal that I have. And so if I sit here now and I'm looking at, 100 different teachers or people that I'm connecting to, and maybe one of them is into sewing, like I'll probably not learn that much about sewing, right? Like it's kind of like, oh, well, I have this dream, I have this goal. Now, who are the people who can teach me to get to where I need to be? And so sometimes we have to trim the fat, or just like let go of some things, some thoughts, some people, mute people, unfollow, whatever it needs to be. Focus, like how can you focus? What is distracting you from your path? Who can you stop listening to for a while? Who's no longer in resonance, right? We now have these digital personas where maybe we've been on a platform 20 years. Like that sounds so crazy when I think about it, but it's like some of those people might not be in resonance for who you are. Some of it might be nostalgic, and that's okay. But it's like what's not serving you to get you to where you want to be, and who are the true teachers in this moment in your life? Can you distill them down? Could it be 20 people? Could it be 10 people? Can you listen to them? Like for me personally, like I've been really into the Self-Realization Fellowship and learning from Paramahansa Yogananda. And so it's been someone I've always been fascinated by, especially after my yoga teacher training and reading Autobiography of a Yogi. And it's been like on the back burner, like, wow, like I really resonate with his messages that he brought through, but I wasn't allowing him to be my teacher. I was like, I want to learn from all these other people. Some of them, not to be ageist, but I feel sometimes it is good to learn from elders or people who have walked the path for a long time, right? Because I found myself at this point where I was like, wow, I'm learning certain things from all these people that are a certain age, but like, who are the elders in this field? Who can I learn from, in this way? And it's just kind of fun to like navigate that. Like, oh yeah, it's cool that I'm learning from this person that's either younger than me or around the same age, but is there anybody out there who's like who's carrying that wisdom of a longer experience, a longer tradition? And what does that look like for me? So it's been fun to learn from Yogananda because he's, obviously been passed for a long time. But it just like when you start to open yourself to teachers who are in resonance, then the others start to fall away and one can feel less scattered, because I really truly believe and understand that our energy and our attention and intention is the most sacred thing we have. It helps us create our reality when we're defining who our teachers are, and I like to refresh that list every once in a while, because again, like I'm changing constantly, and someone who was in resonance, a couple months ago might not be, or someone I was looking at 3 years ago who I wasn't quite there yet. Today, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Like, I love what they have to share. So I see this little audio conversation as a permission slip to be like, who are my teachers right now? Who is taking me on the ride that I want to go on? And who's creating noise and conflict of interest, and what is creating those things too, right? It's not just about the digital realm, but it's like who and what are you surrounding yourself with? And what does that look like? Is it fueling your heart? Is it fueling your inner fire? What are the things that bring you to your state of homeostasis and joy and true authenticity in who you are? And I feel like sometimes it's those tiny whispers that we're not listening to. And I know for myself personally, I brought up a few, but it's like, I love sewing, I love creating, but I haven't been giving myself permission to create. So it's like, how do I find my teachers, or how do I tune into myself as the teacher, right? That's also obviously really important, because we are wise souls as well. Regardless of our age, we're always learning, we're always growing. And then it's like, what are the practices too? Like for myself as well, like I know as a human design manifester, my not self is anger. And so when am I feeling anger is an indication of, oh my gosh, I'm not cultivating peace. And so what is peace for me? Peace is when I take time to do yoga, even if it's just laying on my mat for 10 minutes and doing nothing, or just wiggling around on the ground. But it's like, those are the whispers. It's like, how do we cultivate those? How do we connect with them? And then how do we actually do them? to really stand true in our path and to be a student of life, to be a student of life in the areas that we desire. If you love astrology, you would obviously want to start learning from other astrologers. If you love herbalism and you live in the Midwest, you might want to find an herbalist in the Midwest, either in person or virtually, right? And that's the wonderful thing, is that we have infinite access to infinite teachers. And so that's why I think this is an important conversation, because, we are very digital, right? So if I'm interested in a certain thing and I can't find it locally, I can find somebody online, and I'll use my intuition, I'll use my authority in human design and find, like, is this person good for me? Like, are they vibing with the energy that I'd love to receive? Is this in resonance for me in this moment? So we have to be really discerning, like, who are our teachers currently, and can we find them in person, right? Can we find them locally? Because I feel like what's happening is we're so used to this digital experience, which, again, wonderful, amazing. I've had awesome jobs, awesome opportunities, all virtual. I've done so many different virtual human design readings and things of that nature. But it's like, I wonder, who are the people that can be our teachers in person? Who are they? What are they like? Where do you find them? Where would you find a teacher for your field and the thing that you're passionate about? So these are just my thoughts and reflections, but something I have been really tuning into. So I want to encourage you, if you feel called to or connected to this message, of just contemplating, like, what is your path? Where do you want to go? What are you interested in? What's one of your dreams or your visions? And how can you find someone who can teach you or guide you with their wisdom, with their years of wisdom, potentially, and just see what they have, see what's in store for you, see who is aligned and who's not aligned, and refresh it. I was listening to someone the other day who they were even talking about, like, your team, your spiritual team. And they were saying, like, yeah, you can, like, ask out loud and say, like, I'd like to get an upgraded spiritual team. Like, I'm still loving who I'm working with, and I'm ready for the upgrade if it's in my highest good. So it's like, where do we need to upgrade some things, right? Because we're always changing, we're always shifting. And I feel like this can lead into another longer conversation just about upgrading and refreshing, all the things of life. And so I'm really excited to bring more conversations about this, but I would love to hear what resonates with you. If something felt in alignment, and I would love to hear who your current teachers or teachings are, and maybe any actions that you've taken to kind of like reduce the noise and clear the clutter, trim the fat, however we want to phrase it, and being okay with that. It's all about intention and action. And I know for me, that's something that's worked really well, is just scanning through my YouTube subscriptions and unsubscribing from some people or unfollowing, whatever it may be, because our attention is sacred and we don't need to be so oversaturated. So that's my last little thought, is like, can you create space to listen and to tune in and just contemplate and write, like, who are my teachers? And I feel like it works best in silent spaces, or maybe with some contemplative music or soundscapes. But yeah, wishing everyone such a beautiful day, a love-filled day, and thank you for tuning in. Bye.